Today, good morning and welcome to the Morning Buzz and Voice of the People Television. I am Jerry Opelihari.
And I am Adefunke Jaisi. It's a beautiful Saturday morning and we are here to kickstart your weekend, so stay tuned.
On the show this morning, Atiku El-Rufai lead new opposition push, seek INEC nod for all Democratic Alliance.
And still in the news, DSS under fire over alleged starvation and abuse of NAN's president amid leadership rift.
These are the major topics of discussion for today. We also have other interesting trending stories. But before we proceed, kindly click on the subscription button and subscribe to our YouTube channel on Voice of the People TV and on all the social media platforms. We have VOP TV Live. Also visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. As Voice of the People TV, we encourage you to call and share your thoughts and reactions via WhatsApp on 09044732605 because here your voice matters and it's more than just your voice. All right, going straight to the conversation where Senator Kalu has urged Zamfara State Governor Dawda Lawal to maintain a strategic relationship with President Bola Tinubu, warning that political misalignment could cost the state vital development opportunities. While commissioning key projects in Gusau, the APC senator emphasized that political affiliation should not hinder economic collaboration, advising the PDP governor to adopt political economics by aligning with federal initiatives to secure funding and infrastructural gains for Zamfara. Drawing from his own past as a PDP governor who partnered across party lines with then AD Governor Tinubu, Kalu said political diplomacy was crucial to unlocking federal resources. He clarified that he wasn't advocating for defection to the APC, but stressed that political maturity and unity, especially with federal stakeholders, could make the difference between stagnation and progress. His remarks come amid rising concerns over Nigeria's shrinking opposition presence following recent defections, even as President Tinubu denies any plot to create a one-party state. I go into the conversation, and I think it's more like you're telling somebody, you're threatening somebody, you're telling the person. You're making a threat, at the same time you're telling him, I'm not threatening you. You're just, how would you come to inaugurate your project and you're telling him that if you want to enjoy affiliation, you need to align? And he made an invalid point by saying that during his time, he aligned with the AD Governor Tinubu. Come on. What kind of alignment was he talking about? Is it governor to governor alignment? Was he getting allocation from Lagos when he was governor of Abia State? I think this doesn't make sense. Come there, inaugurate a project and leave. Don't start making threats. Yeah.
Well, I don't see it that way. I only see it as politicians with their usual style of trying to align and making it look like it's about them and interest without any form of maybe differences or irregularities in relationship and communication. Because when he talked about the relationship with Governor Bola Tinubu at the time and AD Governor, the issue then was the fact that he had a personal relationship with the governor. Not like anything was coming to Lagos State from him, neither was he getting anything from Lagos State. I mean, we all know what the situation was like in Nigeria at the time. No, he said that his children were actually schooling in Lagos State.
So was that benefiting the state or his own personal
benefit? So he said that the children were schooling in Lagos and were literally living within the government house at Marina at the time, and that despite being a PDP governor and with what the situation was at the time with the federal powers, he was able to maintain a friendly relationship, and saying that his relationship with Bola Tinubu dated back in the days. But for me, I really do not understand how that story relates with the situation on hand. I mean, for Governor Lawal.
He was just mildly telling the governor, you better join the APC.
For Governor Lawal, a lot of people have been speculating his position and all of that. But I like his stand. He's one governor that has come out to say that despite the debts the state had incurred over the years since he became governor all thanks to more allocation to the state. He has not had any reason to even borrow one kobo. As much as it's good not to borrow, we also see the part of development in the state. So if he is able to do his work as a governor, serve his people, and put the interest of the people of Zamfara at the center of whatever is happening to him, I don't think that it is important for him to be a part of the federal government. After all, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not.
There's a difference of being the part of the federal government and joining the APC.
That's what I'm saying.
Now they are telling him that if you want to align with the federal government,
he even told him that he doesn't have to decamp.
No, of course, he already said affiliate, align to get access to the federal post. But if you must do that, you have to align with us.
You have to be a friend of the federal government.
See, you don't have to tell me that you're threatening me before I will know your words are saying.
No, but there's the Anambra State governor,
okay,
Charles Soludo, who doesn't have to decamp, who doesn't have to leave the APGA, even though APC has his own candidates in that state, but still said, oh yeah, I support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There is the Alex Oti, who has not come out to campaign for Tinubu, but has said over and over again that he supports the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his reforms are in line with, with his thoughts too. So for persons like that, it's understandable. So if he's coming to tell him that you necessarily do not have to decamp, I know what's on your mind, but I will let you bring it out.
It's not about what's on my mind anyway.
But really, it's a political season. With the inauguration of Ada. But we'll get to that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move on to the next story. In Osun State, tension gripped the people on Friday as suspected armed assailants attacked Ayegunle, a community near Esauke, killing 4 residents in a brutal daylight raid. Homes were touched, properties destroyed, and mutilated bodies dumped in a well, an escalation of a lingering dispute between 2 communities, allegedly triggered by the controversial appointment of a traditional ruler. The community leader, Ibironke Adebusoye, claimed that the attackers who stormed in on motorcycles with faces covered were identifiable and originated from Esauke, a claim swiftly denied by Esauke's monarch, Oba Adeniyi Adediran. On the part of the Nigerian police force, the police confirmed the deaths and blamed the violence on an unresolved boundary conflict. The State Police Commissioner Ibrahim Gotan visited the scene, promising swift justice as investigation continue. Despite no arrest, the police say evidence has been recovered and reinforcement remain deployed to prevent further violence. The gruesome nature of the killings and mounting tension has sparked fresh calls for urgent government intervention to avert a full scale of communal crisis. I mean, this is Osun State.
Yeah.
Looks like we are not going to see the end of these boundary issues between communities and ownership of land space. This is the same Osun State that experienced communal clash between Ife and Modakeke at the time, and it was still about boundaries and, of course, leadership and the position. I mean, when you say somebody is the paramount rulers and people come out to say, no, we have our own leader too. And when there are certain communities that find themselves in between communities, the bigger communities want to have more like they have the say over those communities and the leadership of that community. I know that where I come from in Ogun State, we have the paramount ruler for the popular, or for what many people know. They talk about the Alake of Egba land and the Awujale of Ijebu. But for people like me from Remo, we know that it's beyond 2 paramount ruler. We have 3, because the Akaribu of Remo is actually a paramount ruler because he has 33 major communities, not small communities, under his rulership. And that's at the end of where Remo, with the point where Remo ends is where Ijebu begins. So if people do not understand these things, if people just get into office or maybe become leaders, traditional leaders and all, without understanding the origin, or even when you understand the origin, without coming up with strategies to keep the community in check and make people live in peace and unity, things like this won't stop happening.
Yeah, it's an era where people will wake up and want to conquer territories. This is not, we are
but
not,
what end?
We're not in the BCs or the 80s.
You get
the 1886.
after Jesus, after death.
Because now everybody now knows their territories. The history has already told us this is where your boundary ends and this is where your boundary starts.
But
and for people to now come up and say maybe there was an agreement somewhere in the middle of the line, maybe an Oba or somebody who wakes up in the morning and say, this is his time, my forefathers were great conquests, let's go and conquer some territories, let's go and take back one territory my father told me somehow I sold, or it was taken from me forcefully, this is his time for me to conquer it back. It's really sad. And the fact that when non-state actors go into violent mode, for instance, the herdsmen have been killing people,
right,
and they've been getting away with it. This sends a message that anybody can wake up and kill people and get away with it. Because by the time you allow one wrong to happen, you're encouraging more wrongs. The government needs to stand firm on people who take lives and are not held accountable. Rule of law needs to stand. Leadership needs to take bold decisions.
Yeah.
And make sure that whoever kills or takes the soul of a Nigerian should be held accountable for it, because the law says it there. The constitution is there. Why are we allowing non-state actors to now take control? Because I wouldn't know what would give the boldness to those people, because one Oba or one somebody sent them to cause mayhem and start taking lives without afraid of the repercussion.
Well, when you say because an Oba, I beg to disagree. I'm from a royal family. My father is a sitting king, so I'm very skeptical and very sensitive with conversations about traditional
is also from a royal family.
The truth is, these boundaries have been there. It wasn't much of a problem at the time because of the population and because of the masses, the part of the land that needed to be accommodated. Boundaries are always like that. Yeah. Where I come from, between Shagamu and Ikenne, if you've been to that Shagam Stadium, you can walk from Shagam to Ikenne.
Yes.
Just after that stadium, NYC camp, it's less than a 3-minute walk to get to Ikenne local government, their secretariat.
Yes,
so if communities do not continue to build friendship, build relationship, and pass history on, these issues won't stop happening. For the part of the people that were attacked, they particularly mentioned the community. That might be an accusation, and it might be a fact, because we all have dialects. Apart from this Yoruba we speak, one community has a local dialect. So there's a possibility of being able to trace people based on how they express themselves for conversations they had. But it's also dicey because it might be a way to indict the other part of the community. But in all of this, I think that humanity should win. And I totally agree with your thoughts on the fact that the government needs to set a pace. They need to prosecute people. Something has to be done to serve as deterrent for other people. People cannot continue to take laws into their hands. If you have any problem with land distribution, go to court.
Yeah.
Go to court. If your leaders feel like there's something that is not done properly, they should go to court.
You think that even the fact that people have lost faith in the system, that is why people are not taking laws into their hands? Because people are now seeing the judiciary as not reliable. People are now saying that the executive is not reliable. When the arms of government are not living up to expectation, this is what you get.
People don't have patience, because that case can be in court for another 30 years.
Yes.
I know when my grandfather passed, they still had cases in court over cocoa land disputes and timber, because those were his investments.
Would he be happy to go back to the court if he has a
No, some of those cases were actually transferred to my father and his siblings.
You see?
Because they keep going to the court over and over again.
The judiciary need to step up. All the arms of government need to step up. Everybody needs to put their hands on deck.
The settlement is another problem. Yeah. At least I know for Yoruba land.
Settling out of court.
No. I mean, when you settle in a particular community.
Okay.
So back in the days, there are history of people warring parties having to bring in mercenaries from other communities to help them. And when these battles are over, they tend to give them a space. But over the years, these people have become a part and parcel of that community. And they now demand that, from wanting to be a chief or to be a family head, they extend it to becoming a baale. Then at some point, the baale wants to go to the governor. Exactly, you understand? The baale wants to go to the governor based on relationship. Maybe somebody's from that particular community and said, okay, please upgrade my stool from baale to an oba. Then when you are upgraded to an oba, then the oba wants to feel like he is the same as the paramount ruler. Then the paramount ruler and his people too also feel like, we brought you in, and that's where most of these clashes come up. But it's never the way forward. The government need to step into all of these cases and do something. It's quite unfortunate that this is where we are right now. I mean, we should be thinking about technology. We should be thinking about doing better
development.
things. I mean, see kids
Setting up
in the
industries
Asian
in those
continent.
lands they are fighting for.
See what they are teaching their children, even teaching them languages from Africa, teaching them tech, teaching them stuff. So that should be the way forward. We should have grown past this.
Yeah, pretty sad. Anyway, we'll wait and see how each and every one of these pans out. But let's also introduce our guest here in the studio, talking about Dr. Peter Nosike, a VOP TV in-house analyst, a political commentator, who will be joining us and of course, joining us from our Benin studio is Comrade Solomon Idiogwe, public affairs analyst and political commentator. He is also a human rights activist, and of course, our second guest analyst joining us virtually is Comrade Ibrahim Momo. He is a lecturer of political science at Abruz Ali University of Edo State. And of course, I'll do the honors of welcoming Dr. Anosike to the studio this morning. It's a bright Saturday morning, and of course, it's looking bright and shiny. I remember the song, the day is bright.
It's bright and fair.
Okay.
Oh, happy day.
Good morning, Dr. Anosike.
Well, it seems you and I have a different weather interpretation.
Okay, the day is not bright.
No, it is drizzling as I was coming into the studio.
Really?
No, but it doesn't have to do with the weather when men come to tell you that the day is bright, in my opinion. It might be bright on his side, and you might not have a different atmosphere where you're coming from.
Different weather interpretation.
Well, let's know how it is over there in Benin. Good morning, sir. Is the day bright over there?
Good morning. Good morning, Comrade Solomon Idiogwe. We're just asking if the day is bright in Benin. All right. I don't know whether Comrade Ibrahim Momo is also with us. Good morning. You're welcome to the Morning Buzz. All right. It seems like... Okay.
All right, moving on, let's go straight to the topic. Some of the stories that made it to the cover pages
we'll take a newspaper review, okay?
The national dailies this morning. And I would like to start from the stories on the cover page of the Saturday Vanguard. Well, at the top of the mass, we see 2027 anti-Tinubu coalition writes INEC seeks registration of new political party, ADE, which some people have called ADA. On the other side of the story, what I will tell Tinubu if I meet him, this is coming from Michael Konkwo at 80. And the big story on the cover page, the Lewata massacre. What Benue people expected from President Tinubu. Saturday Vanguard visits the IDP camps and living graves captures their horror stories. In one house, 45 people were burned to death. In another, 28 were charred beyond recognition. Please tell Abuja we want to go home. A little girl sends a message to federal government. Women gives birth to twins in pit latrine. I've lost so many people that I can't remember what to call myself. Another story says they herded families into their homes, set fire on them. Benue displaced people now 900,000. And the last part of that story says in many villages nothing remains but silence. Well, another part of the cover page on page 5 says why Borno top politicians want Shetima replaced as VP. And on civil war, Gowon should apologize to Indigo for dumping Abure Accord, Senator Ume says.
All right, moving down to the Punch newspaper, where definitely it's bold and of course loud, talking about the major headlines. Stranded Nigerians cry for help, talking about the Israel-Iran war from underground shelters, okay? The writer says, we can't sleep at night because of flying missiles. Federal government awaits a border clearance to evacuate over 1,000 citizens. On top of that, this one says, scandal. Convicted inmate caught processing passport, visa in Lagos. How warder drove convicted robber to passport office. What an irony. Very interesting.
Nigeria we
and of course, on top of that, there's Atiku El-Rufai seek INEC approval for new party. Okay, and under that, talking about going under, we have Nigerians no longer value meaningful songs. This is coming from African China. drop a new song, then we can understand that. Okay, epidemic fears as decomposing bodies litter Benue community. Wow, really sad. And of course, Dangote jacks up ex-depot petrol price to 880 naira, meaning that anytime soon, I heard there was going to be the price of oil might go to 1,000 due to the Israel-Iran war.
We're here for it. We're here for it.
Very interesting. Okay, and still taking more newspapers now, and we have because of time, we will have to put an end to the newspaper review there.
Yeah, but we need to get from our guests. Let's start from Mr. Anosike.
Okay.
Dr. Anosike here in the studio.
Don't allow yourself to be
highlighted
fined.
some of the stories on the cover pages. So which of the stories do you like to react to?
Well, I want to talk about the Benue issue.
Okay.
Because as you read, that those in IDP camp is now almost 1 million.
Yeah.
900,000, almost 1 million.
When Governor, that's Samuel Autumn was the governor after the Agatu massacre. I followed a World Bank team to Agatu to inspect what happened.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, that I was able to get a contact, somebody who is living in a neighboring village.
Right.
Understand me? So, and about a month ago, I called him. How is Agatu? He told me that Agatu is still as we saw it the day will come. Understand me?
What year was this?
That's 2021.
And it's still the same.
4 years after.
So it has not been rebuilt. The people in Agatu are now in IDP camp. So the village is still, because if you go there, over 200 houses were burnt. The entire village was sacked. Wow. And I'm sure that's what is going to happen to this community as we speak. So I feel that if government really values other people, because there's a saying, people over profit and the moral over money. But our government is doing the otherwise, money over moral and the profit over people. So that's why a whole president said because of bad road, he cannot go to where people were massacred. Now, whose fault? What is the responsibility of government? Understand? And when Tinubu went to Makurdi, he was saying that the other time that he came, that his friend George Akume gave him yams. But now what he's seeing is dead bodies, which means pushing all the problem to the governor, while he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces.
Okay. Well, it's quite unfortunate, but because of time, let's wrap up this segment. Let me go straight to our Benin studio. Comrade Solomon, can you hear me? All right, Comrade, if you can hear me, we'd like to get your reaction to some of the stories on the cover pages today. Okay. All right, apologies. I think that there's some glitches when it comes to the connection of our audio. We'll come back to you, but maybe I should just get more from you. Okay,
then on the issue of El-Rufai and Atiku, that's for the proposed political party.
Yeah, ADA.
There are regulations, there are guidelines for registering a political party.
Right.
I feel that people INEC should not be intimidated. Conditions must be met before a political party is registered.
Right.
And the condition is that you must have two-third presence. The party must have now political association we have a two-third presence in the country, which means having offices, secretariats in 24 states. But over the years, I have seen people using their own residential
Personal
address
properties, yeah.
as a party offices, which is wrong. So if INEC should go and verify all the documents submitted, if they are genuine, then they should be registered. That if they meet the required conditions, then they should be registered. People are saying that register. No, conditions must be met. Because INEC pays political parties. And you can see, around 2021, over 71 political parties were deregistered. And people were just shouting. Understand? But the 71 political parties don't have even a councillor.
Wow.
Do you understand me?
Yeah.
And now we have about 19 present. Only 5 has representatives.
Representations, yeah.
Understand me? So what are the other ones doing?
Okay, let's now go. All right, very interesting. I would have loved you to react to the talking about the prison inmate who was driven to by a warder to go to go and get a passport and of course apply for a visa. And I know that the immigration has very strict laws when it comes to things like that. Okay, let's go back to the conversation proper, where definitely Atiku El-Rufai lead new opposition push, seek INEC nod for all Democratic Alliance. We'll now go on a quick breather. When we come back, we'll take a look at that and more on the Morning Buzz.
Hi, my name is Tosin Mohammed. I'm a gospel artist. Keep watching VOP TV.
Almighty Father, you are the mighty Redeemer. We've come to worship at your feet, oh Lord. This is Ayotunde Adejumo, chilling with you on the Voice of the People TV. Don't touch that remote. You are where God wants you to be, listening to the Voice of the People TV.
The Bible says we should give thanks in all circumstances. And all circumstances include the good times and the bad, the high times and the low, the times when everything look as if they are going well, and those times when Enugbe, the ground is dry like the sand in the desert. Those times when you feel like giving up, you should give thanks still. My name is Jeff Melu, and I'm a gospel poet. And you should keep watching VOP TV. Don't touch that dial.
Kábíyèsí Olúọ̀run, we were born to give you twale, to give you worship. People of God, you are watching Voice of the People TV, and my name is Flo Rocker. I encourage you to listen to things of the gospel. You know, we live in a very perilous times where there are some things you watch on television, you will lose faith, you will lose God. Keep your eyes on Voice of the People TV and remain blessed. Flo Rocker says so.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching the Morning Buzz on Voice of the People TV. All right, going to the conversation proper way. In a bold move to reshape Nigeria's political landscape ahead of 2027, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and ex-Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, alongside political figures like, I beg your pardon, Rotimi Amechi and Umar Ado, have applied to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the registration of a new party, the All Democratic Alliance, ADA. The application, acknowledged by INEC on June 21, is a strategic response to growing national dissatisfaction and aims to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress at the next polls. The proposed ADA, backed by the National Opposition Coalition Group, submitted its constitution, manifesto, logo, and a meeting records with justice for all as its slogan and a maize symbol to represent resilience and sustenance. And of course, the move comes shortly after INEC reiterated its zero-tolerance stance on procedural lapses, warning that no pressure will influence its decisions outside constitutional boundaries. And of course, we still have in the studio with us Dr. Peter Nasike, PTV in-house analyst, a political commentator. Of course, joining us virtually from our Benin studio, still Comrade Solomon Idiogbe, a public affairs analyst, political commentator, and of course, he is also a human rights activist. And of course, we also have our second guest analyst talking about Comrade Ibrahim Momo. He is a lecturer of political science at Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma, Edo State. All right, also remember that as Voice of the People TV, we encourage you to call and share your thoughts and reactions via the WhatsApp showing on your screen. And it's 09044732605, because here your voice matters and it's more than just a voice. Dr. Anasike, I want to go straight to you this morning. ADA looks like it's taking this first push, and it looks like it's going to be a long hurdle. But the thing is that all of a sudden INEC now wants to go by the book and so on and so forth. I didn't know, talking about something that you want to trace, like why all of a sudden? Yeah, why all of a sudden? Because back in the day, parties were just registered like no man's business. And let's not forget, we all know Nigeria. If the government wants to go through the book, for instance, if you go to the police station, they tell you bail is free, but we'll know what will happen when you're going to release your person from the police custody. They will tell you, yeah, bail is free, but you know, you have to still settle. But we all know the situation.
Assuming I'm still going to church, I have said that I'm a prophet, but I stopped going a long time ago. So, Jerry, it was on this table that I told you that PDP is a broken down vehicle that will never be repaired till 2027. And I told you that if Atiku is serious about running, he should leave PDP. And I told you that if P2B want to run as a Labour Party candidate, he will be disqualified. I told you this on this table. So what they are doing now for me is what they should do. Understand? Leave a PDP, leave a LP, and go into a different because these two parties have been hijacked by the APC, and they are on a mission, and the mission is till 2027. So for me, the ADC sounds good. ADA, and I also like the maize thing, because the broom has swept on our pockets. Okay. Understand me?
So now we need the maize.
We need which is food, which is agriculture.
But you're not suspecting something. If you say that the APC has hijacked the Labour Party and the PDP,
and, sure.
and this ADA now has Agbado, that's corn, as its own logo. Are you not still seeing Tinubu in the center of all of this?
So for me, it's maize symbolizes agriculture, and right now Nigerians are hungry. Understand? So it can resonate with some people. Especially, I prefer it to this even to Abga has a cock. A cook, understand me? Yes, so they understand me. So I prefer this maize to the broom, understand, to the umbrella that is now torn. You
just have what description for all of these parties. Well, let's come to Comrade Momo from Benin studio. Comrade Momo, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
All right, good morning to you. The coming up of this coalition taking a bold decision to register a party, which many analysts have advised. What do you make of the situation and the development, talking about the persons involved and the interest of the personalities involved?
Quite a loaded one. The first thing is that from my background as a political scientist, I would say that a very key element of democratic ethos has to do with viral opposition, alternative positions or opinions or directions in terms of public policy. That is one key element in the democracy. And increasingly, over the last couple of months, we are seeing the ebbing or the failing of that kind of, character, that should, guide political systems. So it for me, it's a refreshing slant, a refreshing, if you may, news to hear that the ADA, as it were, and is assuming without certainty that it is the platform on which the articles, the Peter Obis, the Rotimi Amechi, the Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai are going to run on, are seeking to float. If that is it, I think it's a very, very welcome development. Now, as to the individuals who are behind it, well, I think these are seasoned politicians, well-known, tested, trusted, and as some would say, rugged politicians. You need, one of the things that made APC tick was not the name itself, but those who were behind it. And some of the persons you are seeing here today, behind the ADA, without equivocation, were those who made the APC tick at the point of registration. So I'm happy, I'm pleased to note that there's a viral opposition, because if there are no challenges, if there are no opposition, no viral opposition, there is this kind of carelessness that normally would, go into the minds of and actions of the ruling party. I remember hearing some time ago that when former chairman Audu Ogbe, who himself even left the PDP, to the APC, was saying that the PDP will rule for the next 50 years. The PDP did not even last 5 years after that statement. It did not last up to 5 years before they lost out, at national level and of course the state levels. So for me, it's a welcome development. My only challenge is that I don't know for sure how being disgruntled can make a difference. Some of these persons you have seen, Atiku Abubakar, apparently, he has been the presidential candidate of the PDP in the last 2 presidential elections. That is now very interested in a new platform. After being the presidential candidate of the party in the last 2 presidential elections, it's something of, something for the records. And then you see Peter Obi, running mate to Atiku Abubakar in the honor of the PDP in 2019. And then being an aspirant, and later, if you may, the contestant of the Labour Party, the candidate of the Labour Party in 2023. So that's the only worry I have. If being disgruntled with the current political platform, it's enough and a reason, to have a successful political party. I say that because when we talk about political parties, there are key elements, you will see in a party that will make you say, oh, well, this one ticks the boxes. And for me, that's why I know that I'm of the opinion that, because I teach my students, I tell them that we do not really have any political party. What we have here are contraptions. What we have here are just mere vehicles, for seeking political office. Not necessarily political party. Political party should have ideology. There should be a contradistinction between party A and party B. This is what we stand for. Nigeria has enjoyed this kind of things. You could remember during the Second Republic, First Republic, you talk about, free education, mass housing, food for all. There are issues that stand a particular party out as against other parties. In the US, in the UK, when we talk about the Republicans, you could say they are, pro-nationalism. They are nationalist in ethos. They are anti-immigration. They are pro-private business. But when you talk about democratic, they are, the laissez-faire. They are, pro-people, pro-big government, pro-immigration, pro-universal healthcare coverage, and so on and so forth. So one is pro-private sector, the other one is pro-public populist, pro-people. Ditto for the Labour and the Conservative parties in the UK. But when you come to Nigeria, you will scratch your head to see the difference between the PDP and the APC, or even the Labour Party. And then this ADA now, when you have elements of this, all these parties coming together to form the ADA, we are saying, when it comes to ideology, what is their color distinction? And then there's
Comrade Momo, I understand all these indices and all you're trying to point out as a political scientist, giving us an education of what the political system supposedly need to look like, because unfortunately our politicians are not really good students of political science, and unfortunately they don't care. Everybody's just about the interest. But looking at it broadly, I want to look at the party's structure already. It has a coloration of the Northern Bloc, and from some quarters, what I've heard is Atiku's coalition party. It means that from the onset, we're already seeing coloration to say that Atiku is likely to come out as the presidential candidate of this coalition, talking about this new coalition. What that happens to El-Rufai, who they come to the SDP, is he now going to leave the SDP again? Or is the SDP going to follow him to ADA and they abandon all their structure and collapse it to join the new coalition? And I can see Peter Obi is being careful. The last time they met in March, he did not appear in person. He sent a representative to represent him. And with what we heard the last time, he said he was going to run with the Labour Party. So is this a northern agenda from some northern politicians? Because it still says that there are still some northern politicians who are still waiting behind the scenes and waiting to see who they will align with for those who are not happy with the APC. Comrade Momo.
Whether it's an Atiku coalition or a northern alliance, those are two different things. It could be a northern alliance, which means that you are bringing the who is who of the northern political apparatchik into the fray. But if it's an Atiku alliance, it's a much different or much smaller or a much narrower, platform. But based on what I have seen, what I have read, and what I have heard from this group, I'm not certain that the candidacy of the party, of this presidential candidacy of the party, is a settled matter. By no means is it any. And I think that if Atiku is serious about his views about an alternative, a different direction, saving Nigeria, if you may, from the abyss, it cannot be, the ADA cannot be an Atiku coalition. It has to be an alternative platform for all Nigerians. So that if at the outset it's a settled matter that Atiku is the one who's going to be the candidate, I'm sure it is the beginning of the end. Atiku can contest, but it cannot be all about Atiku. That's the point I'm making. It could be, but it cannot be all about Atiku. That's one. The second thing is that, with all due respect, I think that with all the inroads the president has made, whether it is in the number of people who have defected to the APC, you see that two governors in the south, not south, not east, not northwest, in the south have become, to the APC, the governor of Delta, Sheriff Oboribori, and the governor of Akwa Ibom, Governor Umo Eno. But we have not seen anything like that. We are hearing snippets that, Zamfara State Governor, but the main opposition, whether I like it or not, the president still does not have a strong foothold, is in the north. The three federal districts in the north. So I think that if the ADA is going to make any serious inroads, it's most likely that the candidate of that party should come from the north, because that's where the president has not so far. So you can see what's happening even with the vice president. There's an attempt to even drop him, which also caused a ruckus within the PDP. So I think that's where this major opposition is from.
Okay. All right, we understand that Comrade Solomon Diogwe is now actively with us. We want to throw it straight to you without wasting time, because if you take a look at it, Peter Obi is no longer in the conversation like it looks. And if you're going to have a coalition that only focus on the northern bloc, are you going to leave the southwest, the southeast, and the south-south aside? Not minding the fact that the south-south governors are decamping to the APC. That is what INEC is even asking. Saying, if you want to register a political party, let it cut across all. You should have a presence in all the states, if not all the 36, at least maybe say 32 or so. Yes, the law states that.
No, Constitution said to third.
To third, okay. And if you're only focusing on the northern bloc,
Atiku can get 36.
Atiku can get 36, yes, with his money and so on and so forth, with his political clout and so on and so forth. But the coloration of the AD already, look at the people there. We are having Rotimi Amechi, who we know definitely has lost his touch politically. He's just trying to drag whatever he can drag
but
along.
there's also Ado, the former aide to Atiku Abubakar.
Ado is also Atiku Abubakar.
That's
He's
what I'm
also
saying. I mean, that's South-North.
No, for instance, I'm still not seeing, I'm not feeling it. Like me in Lagos, for instance,
chairman and party secretary.
Yes.
So I think their position is fair.
I can see even the party chairman as a Yoruba man, talking about Yinka himself and Ricketts. But all in all, it's looking like this political coalition is being formed to make sure that Atiku has a stand ahead of the next election. Let's not beat around the bush. But at the end of the day, is this coalition going to be about the people or about the politicians themselves again? Comrade Solomon.
Yeah, I think that ADA should be an alternative democratic party. But unfortunately, I do not think it is going to be. If the issue of INEC for me is just giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it, INEC may never register ADA because in Nigeria anything can happen. You can see the story of a prisoner go with the warder to go and get an international passport. Why no American citizen can be killed in another soil? Thousands can be killed within the Nigerian soil. The Nigerian government will do nothing. I'm not saying that Nigeria is a free-for-all thing. Anything can happen. However, I cannot agree less with the last two speaker on their position about both the paper review and then the Article ADA issue. Fine. For me, I still think that the ADA is all about Article, not necessarily a northern agenda thing. And then agree with Momo. The characters that's making up the ADA is something to worry about. The role of the Kaduna Mafia and the El-Rufai, you know, in encouraging crisis in Kaduna is something to worry about. And then who is Amechi in the southern political space? Amechi who boasts of his state as somebody who has plans. No. How many followers does he have? Has he even been able to struggle with Enyesu Wike in the states? So these are issues. So for me, there's really no viable alternative to the rascality APC is showing today to the Nigerian state. Because APC will ask us, without fears and apology, I tell you, it's a disgrace and it's a failure in governance in Nigeria. But here we are. APC has succeeded in swallowing both the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party. And like my guy, the CEO, had made the point, they can never recover. It's a broken down vehicle that you can never find a mechanic that can fix it until 2027 or after. So, as we are today, Nigeria is on a crossroad because why should it always be? And if we're still a coloration, full involvement of the likes of Labour Party candidate Peter Obi. We have seen the likes of Fashola, what's his name, the former Arigbesola. You see the Yoruba extraction, you see the Southeast extraction, you see the South-Side extraction, and then you see the North Central, the Northeast, the Northwest. It's just a combination of
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Solomon. Let me come to you, Mr. Anosike, in the studio. I like
Dr.
the fact,
Anosike,
Dr. Anosike. I like the fact that you talked about coloration and you said that yes, even though two-thirds is needed in terms of coverage, and Atiku Abubakar can get it. But I also like the fact that other analysts have emphasized on the importance of the Nigerian people at the center of this conversation. Is it about one person or just aggrieved people coming together to work against another person or in the interest of Nigerians? We talked about the people that made up this party, at least for a starter. And yes, I think Comrade Solomon also, Comrade Momo talked about persons decamping and not having heavyweight people from the north yet. There was speculation around substituting the Vice President Kasim Shettima with someone like Kwakwanso, or a nomination from the two of the parties, the power brokers in the north, to say this is the person we are doing. And we also have the 3 senators from Kebbi who decamped. We have the Aliero, who was the former FCT minister, is a strong one when it comes to politics in Kebbi State. I mean, 3 senators decamping at the same time. There is the Senator Abdullahi and also Senator Maidoki. In all of these defections and coalition, where do Nigerians stand?
Well, very good. I want to put it on record that the Atiku coalition was fabricated by Jerry. Understand me? There's nothing like Atiku coalition.
Okay.
ADA is a political association.
Right.
But Atiku is the biggest name there, having been a former vice president.
Yes, there's also the former Senate President David Mark.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. Jerry is already trying to give them a bad name.
I don't
Jerry
think it's a bad name. I'm reading between the lines.
It's never an Atiku coalition. It's a political association.
Okay. I was not in their meeting. So.
Being nurtured by Nigerians. Comrade Momo talk about a coalition of disgruntled elements. How did the APC come about?
Okay. But if you...
Will you go and form opposition if you are happy with the government in power?
That's where the concern is about the persons involved in this. Because all of these people were practically part of the formation of the All Progressive Congress.
Yes, and now they're not happy with the system. And again, Comrade Momo said that Tinubu has made inroad in the South. Maybe he has made in the South. He can never, I'm using that word, never, make any inroad in the Southeast. Even if tomorrow and next Tuesday they come to APC on his own. I'm an Igbo man. I was public secretary of Honest and Igbo Southwest as a whole for 7 years. I know how an average Igbo man thinks.
So an average Igbo man thinks against...
I know how an average Igbo man thinks.
Yes, don't forget, we have an APC governor already in
2027, if P2B is on the ticket, what happened in 2023 will happen in 2027. Understand me? So even if the governor is, and mind you, when P2B was running in 2023, there's no Labour Party governor, even councillor in the Southeast.
Let me react to that.
Understand
or let me ask you this.
So wait. So the issue is this: Nigerians are not happy. Understand? If they are happy with the suffering that they are going through, serve them right. Understand me? So Nigerians need an alternative. Understand me? And what drives people to the polling booth is not happiness, it is anger. Understand me? What makes people go to vote is not happiness, it is anger. So the more hungry, the more angry that people are, the more they will be ready for the change.
You've talked about how the Southeast is likely to vote. If Peter Obi decides not to join this coalition of the ADA and still runs under the Labour Party as he has clearly stated, and there's a Bola Tinubu from the APC and maybe an Atiku from ADA, how do you think the Southeast would vote?
The reason of an Igbo man is be your brother's keeper. Understand me? So, as it is now, if P2B wants to go alone, he wants Tinubu to win. It is only a coalition that can remove APC in 2027.
So how does the be your brother keeper come in here?
So if P2B wants to go, if P2B wants to run as a Labour Party presidential candidate, he will fail.
We're not talking about,
The coalition will fail.
He ran in 2023 and failed. If he chooses to run in 2027,
that means he's going to fail too.
I'm talking about how will the Southeast
using that word
vote.
Fail is wrong.
Okay. He lost the election.
No, he was the one that stated fail.
Using that word, excuse me, Mahmoud Yakub reads it for Boname Tinubu.
Let's go to the conversation.
I
just want you to emphasize on how. I'm not talking about if he's going to win or if he's going to fail. How will the Southeast vote in 2027 if Peter Obi decides to run and the coalition is still on?
Any reasonable Southeast person will be disappointed. And for me, I will interpret it as he is working for Boname Tinubu.
Okay, but up to now, you don't think that he's working for Boname Tinubu?
But Dr. Anosike,
so wait. Okay. So if Peter Obi wants to make impact, he should join the coalition.
Should he join a coalition that will not serve his interest?
Exactly. As what?
His interest is to run for president.
No. Understand me? Your interest should be that's an alternative for the Nigerian people.
And who are the people leading the alternative? If Atiku is leading the alternative, does that not betray the talking about the sharing of power formula from the South going to the North?
Is it in the Constitution?
Does it have to be in the Constitution? Should people be treated unfairly because all of a sudden politicians now have personal interest? We will now
the funniest thing is I want Dr. Anosike to respond to this.
Yes?
Because in 2019 there was an Atiku Obi ticket that was a wave. But in 2023, Peter Obi decided to run alone because of the obedient movement and maybe the permutations around the possibilities of becoming president. And now in 2027, you are talking about someone that has said that his intention is to change the old order and bring the new order. And how does changing the old order now make him aligned to run as a running mate and not the presidential candidate?
He cannot do it alone. He cannot do it, and Peter Obi cannot do it.
But you have a vice presidential
candidate. Would the Obidians not see it as betrayal if he joins the coalition and becomes the vice president to Atiku, for instance?
Jerry, here, I told that it is better to be a member of a winning team than a captain of a losing team. It is better to be a member of a winning team than a captain of a losing team. If Peter Obi wants to run in LP in 2027, he wants to be a captain of a losing team. And he will lose the respect that some of us have for him. Understand me? So Nigerians need an alternative. We shouldn't continue with the suffering that we are going through at this point in time.
Well, who says that an alternative would bring that change? Because let's not forget, in 2015, everybody said they wanted alternative. And look at where we are. We should be careful because I remember Jonathan said Nigerians should be careful for the change they're asking for. But today, look at where we are.
Wait, it is you Gen Zs. In 2014,
I'm not a Gen Z. I'm a millennial.
In 2014-15, I wrote a book on Buhari.
Okay.
Understand? Because Buhari, I witnessed Buhari as the head of state between 1983, that December 31st, 1983, to August 1985, before he was overthrown. Those of us who were around then know that this guy knows next to nothing about government.
Okay.
And I warned Nigerians.
But we did not hear, unfortunately.
And that's why those of us stop giving people money. Those who were shouting Sai Baba, then today they are still suffering.
They're not all suffering anyways.
And
but let's go to our Benin studio.
Let's go to our Benin studio. Because I did not say
sincerely, because you can never conclude that everybody that do not agree with your terms necessarily have to suffer. But let's come to our Benin studio. Let me start by talking to Comrade Momo. Comrade Momo, if you are there, I want to get your reaction to this new bottle but same wine. How exactly do you think that powers sharing will work within the party? And if Peter Obi decides not to go with a coalition, with your experience, what are the possible permutations of what 27 will look like?
To be sure whether the opposition coalition is interested in a rescue project or self-aggrandizement. These are the two issues, two basic issues to agree. If it's self-aggrandizement, Peter Obi wants to go his way, Atiku wants to have his way, then we can as well say that it's dead on arrival. But if they are serious about, because the truth is that the Atiku-Obi combination in 2023 produced about 13 million votes, over 13 million votes.
2019. 2019.
Okay, the both of them together.
Yes.
If you compare the results, if you add the results that Atiku polled 6.9 million, and the one that Peter Obi polled 6.1, that's already over 13 million votes. How much vote did the APC bring? Again, 8.1. That's about 5 million votes difference. 5 million votes difference. So I think that if they are serious about producing the next president in their midst, and it all starts with stepping down personal ambition for the common good. Tinubu, current president Bola Ahmed Tinubu would never, in my opinion, have been president if there was no APC. We saw the AFN, the AD and its successor, ACD, AC, and the ACN. At best, they were regional parties. At best, they were just regional parties. At the time, they had only one governor in the southwest. At the time, after 2003 election, it was just only one, Lagos remaining. So that shows the power in a coalition. APC it's an amalgam of different political persuasions, right. And that is how they they got presidency. So if at the outset there is that lack of unanimity among the political actors, and it's either I get a ticket or I run solo, it's clearly a thing of dead on arrival. That's how I see it.
Okay, so he has no chance being alone. But let's now go to a man in the Benin studio, Comrade Diogwe. Taking a look at the situation right now, what would be the best ticket? What would the best ticket that could challenge Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Because if the coalition does not have Atiku and Peter Obi together, it's already looking like it's going to be another wild goose chase for who's going to take over from Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yeah, I think that the coalition is the way to go. Any attempt to do anything outside the coalition would amount to failure. Whether you like it or not, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an old politician. He's from the old brigade. He's an old general in the game. I don't mean in the military, but I mean in the political game. He understands it. You can see how he's been able to swallow both the APC and the PDP and the Labour Party and the PDP. In Benin, they will say, no, he who dissects a rotten animal will not have hands to scratch his back. So that's what he's giving them assignments, and they'll continue to solve the equations and they'll never get results. So if there's a coalition, it means people with a different minds outside the old order. But again, the problem we are going to face in the coalition is the ambition of both Peter Obi and that of an Atiku. I do not see an Atiku stepping down. It would have been most beautiful if a Kwankwaso and Atiku and Obi were all converging in a new political party and a new order, and then giving a fight, because APC needs to be moved from the center. In fact, it has not been sweet since they came in, and I do not think Nigerians are having it easier. I was thinking about when I watched on news the other day, one of the big news media talking about they were doing an analysis that inflation has dropped tremendously, and that cost of food items have dropped with 40% in the last 1 year. Plus, I was asking myself if they were talking about Nigeria or talking about Burkina Faso. So, but here we are. If the coalition wants to have its way, then there's a need for an OB to run with an article. But I'll say this, for people like us, I will always vote. Not because I believe that there's a political party in Nigeria, but I must exercise my franchise. The worst situation is maybe I'll just go there and invalidate my votes, but I'll still vote. What now informed those to vote? I'm coming. I need to land. Peter Obi seems to have the soft spot of the people, and it will be better to have him as the flag bearer if they actually want to gather more votes. Because even in the last presidential election, you will see that he had more supporters, much more than Atiku. And Atiku has much more money to spend. Now, I want to advise, because what I saw happening in the studio, I had sensed that earlier, was the perception I had, and it was coming to play, that my guy from the Igbo extraction seems to have more soft spots for an Atiku than his brother. But I know that when the election comes, he will go and vote for his brother, even though he's talking for an article. But I think that what would be best for Nigeria as it stands now. And yes, I know the Igbo man's mind. He said it carelessly. He said an Igbo man's mind is be your brother's keeper. But you should play down on the sentiment and emotion for an article. But I'll say this again, that the best way to go for 2027 to dislodge the APC that is a menace in Nigeria, who does not care about the lives of the common man or how they feel, is for an Atiku Obi, if you like, possibly a Kwankwaso coalition to happen.
Okay.
And then that will bring, because that's how, and to also say this, the corn, this is not the first time corn is surfacing in the political space.
All right.
There was whether NMP something or MP something that had the corn as its logo.
Thank you very much, Comrade Solomon.
What I fear most is if INEC will register the ADA.
Well understood, well taken. We need to go to the next story, but thank you very much for your thoughts and insights on this conversation. Beautiful submission from all our analysts. But we need to take this other story where it's been said that DSS uncover under fire over alleged starvation and abuse of factional NAM's president amid leadership rift. We will discuss this after the break. Please stay with us.
Are you planning a special occasion? Or are you looking for a place to store your boat? Welcome to Big's Boat Club and Gardens. Our gardens provides a serene ambience for those special occasions like weddings, birthdays, family picnics, or any outdoor event. And if you're a boat lover and you've been worried about where to store your precious boat, worry no more. We introduce Big's Boat Club and Gardens. At Big's Boat Club and Gardens, we are more than just a boatyard. We are a premier destination for boat lovers. We provide a secure environment for you to store your priceless boats, and we ensure they are in top shape for whenever you need them. Our members have freedom to commercialize their boats for exclusive cruises and luxury trips to stunning beach houses. And when it's time to set sail, our on-site field station ensures you are always ready to cruise in style. Big's Boat Club and Garden is located at Wale Olateju Crescent off Admiralty Way, Lekki Phase 1. Follow us on Instagram at BigsGarden_BBC. Big's Garden, where leaders
Many thanks for staying with the Morning Buzz on VOP TV this beautiful Saturday morning, and thanks so much for being with us and, of course, being a part of the conversation. Moving on straight to the next topic, where the Department of State Services, DSS, is facing serious allegations of mistreating detained National Association of Nigerian Students, NAN's factional president, Atiku Abubakar Isa, who has reportedly been stabbed, denied medication, and subjected to degrading treatment without formal charges. Sources say Isa was detained on the orders of a rival NAN's faction led by Olushola Ladoja, allegedly being backed by Sheyi Tinubu, son of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, following claims that Isa refused a 100 million naira bribe to relinquish his position and later exposed attempts to unseat him forcibly. Family members who recently visited Isa described his condition as dire, claiming he appeared unkept, physically weak, and was seen begging for food during their visit. The DSS has reportedly kept him in harsh condition over a month without access to basic needs or legal recourse, prompting public outrage and fresh scrutiny over the agency's handling of politically sensitive detentions tied to internal students' union leadership battles and alleged state interference. Well, this is a very complicated topic, if you ask me, but we still have our analyst to do justice to this topic. Still in the studio with us here in Lagos is Dr. Peter Anosike, VOP senior in-house analyst, a political commentator. And of course, from our Benin studio, we have Comrade Solomon Idiogbe, public affairs analyst, political commentator, and a human rights activist. And you would agree that the energy is right for the conversation. And our second guest analyst is joining us virtually, Comrade Ibrahim Momo, a lecturer of political science at Ambrose Ali University, Epoma, Edo State. Remember that as Voice of the People TV, we encourage you to call in and share your thoughts and reactions with us via WhatsApp on 09044732605, just because you are important to us and your voice matters, and it is more than just a voice. So, this is a very sensitive conversation because, yes, it involves two factions who are supposed to man different groups for the National Association of Nigerian Students, but for involvement of external forces in student union, I think it's something that is worrisome. But let me start by coming with our guest in our Benin studio, Comrade Solomon. Let me get your reaction to the position of Comrade Isa, who is the factional president of NANS, and what you think about his position, the allegations where he had claimed that he refused a 100 million naira bribe, and even the stories around his emergence as NANS president with a conference, supporters conference that had just him speaking in an audience. Let me get your reaction, please.
Not at all shocked at the allegations being made by the factional. If you like, that's if you like, call the factional as president. I don't know him, but I follow the stories and I've seen these things happen. Painfully, the security agencies in Nigeria have become a tool in the hands of these political actors, especially the leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who told me via the struggle has become a tormentor of the people. I tell you, there's another one brewing that may not be aware yet. There's crisis brewing in the National Youth Council, also being sponsored by the son of the president. When will all of this stop? NAS is supposed to be an association and that has no business in governing political party. Its main duty is to coordinate students across tertiary institutions in the country and ensure their welfare, support for the welfare and needs of the students. Now, because of the crazy drive for 2027, when the president and his words are taking over, the one is the Yanoja, are taking over the market. Then the other one is youth leader everywhere. And right now, I just returned from Port Harcourt I'm a former National Youth Council president, so I understand when I'm saying the interference of the son of Mr. President and the government of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the activities of unions is becoming unbearable. Where I know right now in the National Youth Council that one of the loyalists to Shea is being arranged now to take over, and then that causing crisis in the National Youth Council. And that's the same thing we are saying in NAS. If there are two factions in NAS, should you not arrest one? Has he been made a terrorist? That you should go and detain him for 1 month or even a week in a detention facility. If you arrest him and you feel he has committed a crime, why don't you take him to court? So these are some of the issues. And these are some of the reasons we are saying that there's a need to stop this madness come 2027. It is not funny. I can see the pictures there. The man came to explain. In a Senate plan, one would expect that.
Okay, thank you very much, Comrade Solomon. Thank you very much for your submission. I would like to get the opinion of Mr. Dr. Anosike.
So what we are saying here is that one person seems to be aided, and which is the other factional now president, therefore creating an avenue for the other one to be strangled. And if the man said I was bribed, and because I rejected the bribe, and I was beaten, I was naked, and I was recorded on video, nobody has made an attempt to look into the allegations the guy made. Is there actually a nude video of the man recorded by the persons he mentioned? Is there an invitation? Was there an invitation sent to him, to the son of the president and the minister and other persons mentioned in the allegation? Rather than do that, all we hear now is that the man has lied. And to me, it's pathetic, it's annoying, it's actually vexing. And there's a need for the security agencies in Nigeria to look inward and look at what the Constitution says about them, their acts. Because the different agencies have their different acts. What is their core mandate? Is it to arrest Nigerians and put them in detentions without catering for them? Whether he's being fed or not, that's another ballgame. I may not be able to speak to that. But I do not think it is right for you to detain somebody over a union matter for this long.
Absolutely. There is total injustice. And I mean, injustice to one is injustice to all. There is no justification for keeping anyone detained for so long without charging him to court. But before I come to Dr. Anosike, let's take Comrade Momo's opinion on this conversation. I mean, being a lecturer, you know how students can be and what student unionism can be like, especially in this century we are in. So, Comrade Momo, what are your thoughts on the factional leadership in NANS and the position of Comrade Issa, who has said that he's been maltreated and detained for refusing a 100 million bribe, which is a heavy allegation. And just like Comrade Solomon had established, it's important that evidences are provided and the case dealt with in the right way. So let's get your reaction.
Well, I may not have the energy or, the velocity of my brother and friend Solomon, because, of course, like he pointed out that I know, he was a former NANS president, so, National Youth Council president. So I see the passion, the guys go with his own position. But my own is that, first, for a very long time, it's nothing new, the Youth Council and the National Association of Nigerian Students has been long politicized. It's not today. In fact, for NANS, for example, we can say that they have always had, in the last 5 administrations, they have always had factional leadership. This is not the first time. So it's a given that it has those unions, youth association have long been politicized. Now the challenge with this particular one is the overt, involvement of state institutions. Politicization is one thing, which is, I think, is well known even to Solomon, that they always have political leaning. That's why they have these factions. But at the DSS, for example, it's now becoming involved. That's a state agency. It's not a partisan agency. If the DSS is allowing itself to be used, to fight partisan battles, and even degrade itself to such an extent that it is now even involved in student affairs. Now it's National Association of Nigerian Students. It is now getting involved in student politics, more or less unionism. So it speaks to the abuse of state institutions, and there's a much broader connotation or implication to this. It is the fact that the independence or the virality of our state institutions are being compromised, by political actors within the system. So while it's a given that our unions, whether it is even the NLC, the TUC, and the student union bodies, NANS, and then National Youth Council are partisan already. Leaders of those or aspirants of leadership positions are usually partisan. The mere fact that DSS coming into the fray is something that we should we should criticize. We should deplore most seriously. It is not. I don't understand what justification the DSS has for holding somebody for about a month. If he's been investigated, he has his rights even while he's a suspect. If he has been found culpable, the proper thing to do is to hand over to the police for prosecution. But holding him in DSS custody for 1 month, that cannot be right. Right. So I think that DSS has a business, has a duty, has an obligation to save itself from this very, very distasteful act of partisan student union partisanship.
Comrade Momo, I know we're not in a military era, and does this now buttress the point that we are in a system where authoritarianism is now the word? Because if NAN's factional president is arrested by the DSS, that means that anybody can be picked up if you are a dissenting voice. He made an allegation against the son of the president, Tinubu, and it looks like the connotation is telling us that he should have a hand, because I know that the other factional president cannot put a call to the DSS to arrest this man. And he has been in detention without any allegations. He's more or less now in a situation like Nnamdi Kanu and the rest. This guy is just a factional president, for crying out loud, for a student union. So if, for instance, we are even hearing that the son of the president is having political ambition, what does this say about him as a person? And what does this say about student politics being used, being involved in state matters, like even the DSS being involved? Normally, he should have, I expected that after that allegation, he would have been arrested by the police, for instance, and charged to court. Then, if being charged to court, we show that they are following democratic principles.
Exactly, and
but
evidence is proof.
Yeah, I think people who are advising those who are taking this action, because it shows the connotation of the son of the president, they are not really doing it the right way. Because you're just making this man more popular, and you're creating more problems for the president. And if the president is aware of this, and I know, for instance, let me not say he's an unreasonable person, he would definitely not be happy with what is going on. But it looks like people can now take decisions and use the DSS without the president being informed.
Well, it's supposed to be an independent institution.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an independent institution.
If the allegations are true, then the right thing should be done. These are allegations, and I mean, choices of
it's really sad, comrade.
The allegations were weighty, and it's possible that he was lying. It's possible that he was engaging in defamation. It's possible, because in the intro to this section, one of the things I heard you say was that he addressed a crowd of, he was the only person who addressed a crowd of supporters in a factional election. Part of the intro you gave. Yeah. I'm just paraphrasing. So it means a non-election will not be a single candidate this thing. It could not. So, and some of the allegations he made, some of the allegations he made were weighty. And he has an obligation to defend his allegations. There has to be evidence. Exactly. If you don't have an evidence, even if it happened, you don't have an evidence, the law of evidence will not support you. You will still be found guilty of libel or of defamation of character, and so other this thing, charges. So if he had the mere fact that he made this allegation is not enough an evidence for him. But despite all this, there's so much wrongness in the action so far. One is that the DSS has no business detaining a Nigerian citizen in Nigeria indefinitely without the approval of the courts. The DSS may be a security service agent, one of the security services, but it's certainly not a prosecuting agency. It should turn over this person if investigation has found him guilty or culpable to the appropriate agency for prosecution. It's unthinkable, it's unacceptable that in a demo.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you very much. In a minute, Dr. Anosike, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Comrade Momo said that NANS always have a political side. It's not true. The NANS we know is just for the interest of the student. I remember I was in secondary school when Chima, Obani, Bamidene, Arturu were in the university. I was following them on a protest. And what do we do then? If water is running at the Vice Chancellor's house and it's not running in the hostels, we will march to the Vice Chancellor's house and pour away all the water there.
That's for the university.
I'm trying that to paint a
Student
picture.
unionism.
Within the university.
That's I'm sure. If water is running in the Vice Chancellor's house and it's not running in the hostels,
yeah, we get it.
I was in secondary school then, but I will follow them to the VC's house. We will pour all the water in his tank. So that if he should drink, the student should also drink. He shouldn't be drinking water and the students will be thirsty.
But on the national level.
So, no, from the micro to the macro. So this simply shows you that NANS is just for the welfare of the students.
That's what it's supposed to be for. But I kind of lean on.
Comrade Momo said that NANS always have political leanings.
Yes,
it's wrong.
Yes, I agree, because as a student too, I was in the Federal University of Technology, Akure, when Femi Struggle was the NANS president. And at the time, there was a NANS official car from the presidency when Obasanjo was president. There was another one from Segun Agagu, who was the governor of Ondo State. And there was the Southwestern Coalition of whatever that also supported it. And being a member of the National Youth Council, I know that all of these unions, I was in the student union, and there's always a political leaning.
Then the things have gotten bad.
Maybe.
Things have gotten bad.
I just wanted to buttress the point of, he's a lecturer in the university.
NANS is supposed to be the voice of the people, or the voice of the students. Understand? When they begin to show political interest, things have gone bad. And I think that Tinubu is not the first person that to have a grown-up son as a president. Obasanjo had grown-up children who are older than Sheikh Tinubu. Sure. They never intervene in the political space as Sheikh is doing. Omar Musa Yaradua has grown-up children. They never intervene. We didn't even hear any of his children mentioned.
Even people that went to school with them or even served with them. Somebody was reporting the other day that he only got to know after, that I didn't even know that he was the son of the president who had just passed. It's quite unfortunate.
Understand me? Then Jonathan has small children, but we never had Yusuf Buhari doing what Sheyi is doing. We're not running that's a monarchy in Nigeria.
Right.
We're not running a monarchy in Nigeria. And then DSS had become an extension of APC, which is very, very bad. DSS is now an extension of APC. Now doing a witch hunt for those not in support of APC. It's so really that's sad. Why nobody trusts them anymore. The decadence in Nigeria is becoming bad every day because of this Sheyi. Why can you detain somebody for a whole month, if not on act of terror?
Okay.
So for me, this is condemnable.
Okay.
This is condemnable. And even if Sheyi becomes the next president today, it doesn't mean that all the students will go with him.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
never that
Understand
way.
me?
It should,
So-
it should be democracy.
Humans
Yeah.
were not
People
even
should
created
make a
to
choice.
totally
To agree.
agree.
Even
I mean,
brothers
we would
and sisters
definitely have
disagree.
different thoughts.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move away from that, where we'll go on to the trends that this morning, where in a decisive sweep to restore order in Lagos, the State Environmental and Special Offences Task Force on Friday arrested 84 suspects during a major cleanup operation in Agege. The enforcement, part of the ongoing Zero Tolerance Lagos campaign, targeted known hotspots such as the railway corridor in Ojuri, Isale, Oja, as well as Koto and AP Junction, where officials confronted suspected miscreants and environmental offenders. Of the suspects apprehended, 82 were male and 2 female, all of whom will be arraigned in court according to the state government. Governor Sanwo-Olu's senior special assistant on new media, Jubril Gawat, confirmed the crackdown via social media, emphasizing the administration's resolve to sanitize public spaces and dismantle criminal enclaves. The task force's continued presence in densely populated areas forms part of Lagos' broader urban renewal strategy aimed at reclaiming public infrastructure from illegal occupation and ensuring safety for residents. Okay, and I remember I used to stay in the Fagba area. Okay, and I used to stay in the Fagba area back then, and I witnessed a situation where they were okay. Let's take a listen from the video first before we go into the conversation. You can see the task force on duty talking about illegal occupants. Okay.
Nobody to collect one from you. Don't block on camera. Don't block on camera. I will take it. Stand up. Hold on. What are you doing here? They don't play gambling here. Serious. I only carry two. Nobody to collect one from you. Don't block on camera. Don't block on camera. I will take it.
All right, you can see the task force on duty doing their job, and of course I've come across them at a point in time, and that was some years back, and this has been on even time immemorial. I think that was during the Fashola government, where we're actually going for an event on the island, and the task force was actually mopping up miscreants on the road. Actually, our driver almost entered the one-way, that was around Victoria Island, and he was trying to reverse back when he saw those guys in motion. And of course, we had to identify ourselves as pressmen who were coming from an event before we let go. And of course, it's always like a commando style. Some on foot, a Black Maria following them. And of course, if you cannot identify yourself, tell them where you're going, you will be mopped up. And of course, it is quite a very serious, talking about exercise to at least mop up miscreants. And I used to stay in Fagba too. And I remember back then, these criminals hang around the spots like the railway line and so on. So I think there's something about railway line and miscreants and criminals.
Just deserted here. Yes.
I don't know. They like to hide in those environments and so on and so forth. We have loads of them in Lagos. And I think this exercise should be even be going on every three months. Because everybody cannot stay in Lagos, for instance.
Exactly.
If you don't have people. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, listening to my producer now. It's not about criminality. I think we need to understand the sanity of the space. If Lagos State is supposed to be a city, it should not be responsible for the irresponsibility of other state governors across the remaining 35 states and the FCT put together. Everybody cannot live in Lagos. Talking about disappointment or failure of the government is not an excuse for people to leave their homes without a proper destination.
Yeah,
we know that we
planning.
cannot get rid of criminalities in the society. But
you're
please,
even endangering your
exactly,
life by
in a
putting
bit to
yourself
criticize
in that
the
situation.
government or make it look all about the government, let us understand what the expectation of a normal society is.
Yeah.
If you do not have a place in Lagos, you should not be here.
I
was attacked the other day on the highway at Celeb bus stop.
These are the guys who are doing
you should
it.
be able to track records of criminals, but if we don't have a lot of miscreants on the street, how then are we able to take accountability of the people that get to attack people? There's no justification for being idle on any street, whether in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Nasarawa, in Umuahia, or in Upweka. Wherever you are in the part of the nation, you should have a decent home that is called yours. But let me come to Mr.
Dr. Anosike.
Let me come to Dr. Anosike and get his thoughts on this.
It's unfortunate that for me, what I'm seeing there is a failure on the part of government. That's my own view. That's my own opinion. I'm entitled to it.
Of course.
Yeah.
These are able-bodied young men. Understand? In London, they have squatters. Understand? They have squatters. People who don't have accommodation go there. Because everybody cannot have accommodation at the same time. I'm talking of London, one of the major cities in the world.
Yeah, we get it.
They have squatters.
So when the squatting places are filled, what happens?
So it is just called squatters because the people there are not paying. They're just like people who cannot afford rent. People who don't have accommodation. Understand me? This is a house completed. They will just go there and be staying.
Why?
Understand me? So what you are seeing there is a failure on the part of government. Those youths are not happy. Assuming the government made provisions for them, they will not be there. Again, you are going to arraign them. You've not even checked their mental state. You've not even checked or their mental, whether they are sane. Understand me?
All right.
So that's also part of it. I know that some criminal elements also hang around rails everywhere in the world, but a lot of them are not criminals. A lot of them are there as a result of can't help because government there's no welfareanism in the country.
Exactly. Government have failed them, and this government is not just Lagos State government, it's government across Nigeria. But yes, talking about the responsibility of policies, policy enablers and the position of landowners. Yes, my producer is talking about policies not being followed through with. But let me come to our guest in the Benin studio, who is a human rights activist. Let's get your reaction to this situation.
You know, I can't agree with Malda there that it's a failure on the part of government. And then you are pushing the people too far. Now, let me also see, if you look at the video, their rights are also being violated. You can arrest them even more decently than the way you are harassing them. I made this position in one of the sister stations a few days ago. I asked the Nigerian situation. We are three sons of the same parents. And then my eldest brother has graduated and then has gone ahead, done his master's, PhD. He's very schooled and he's Christian in his way, but still lives with us. And I have a second brother who is the younger brother to my eldest brother, who did not go to school, but he has learned how to smoke and how to do toggery and bunkery. And today, he's made so much money. He's built a house for my family. He's in a church place. And then he's riding on different cars. Who do you think I will take after? So that's the situation of the Nigerian state. They don't care for those who have time to care for themselves. You see, what we say here is painful. I'm not saying that if these people have decent, among them, you see people who have gone to school and they don't have jobs. And then they beg to cater for themselves, they go live in shanties. We're not looking at that. We're looking at the destitute nature. Who created the destitution? Says God is the federal part of government. Government will encourage talks. They will use them for election. They will give them arms. And then after the elections, they become criminals. And then we start blaming the society.
Okay.
Government should wake up to their responsibilities and also treat this. Sometimes some of these people can make the difference in society if you brush them up.
All right.
I'm not saying that they're doing well by going to live in shanties and railway lines and whatever,
right.
but I think government can do better. Create, like Oga have said, create shelters.
Solomon. We're pressed for time. We'll have to wrap it up there. And maybe definitely, I know you've driven your point as a human rights activist, calling for the rights of those individuals not to be abused. But we're pressed for time. I want to say big thanks, Comrade Solomon and Comrade Momo from talking about the University of Bruce Ali University of Poma for being a part of the morning buzz. And of course, big thanks, Dr. Peter Dosike as well, for being a part of the show this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you very much, our fellow comrade. And of course, that's where we leave it on the morning buzz this morning. I want to say big thanks to all those who joined us on the show this morning. Of course, Ade, it's been a pleasure as well.
Thank you very much, our viewers. It's been an interesting show. Have a beautiful weekend.
All right, have a beautiful weekend.